ends a young life, leaving nothing but questions.
We not only have a whodunit, we have a who is?
We need to find out who his friends are.
An unknown victim and no reliable witnesses.
Hey, somebody has to listen to me!
She's had a few drinks. Could she be wrong? Absolutely.
I said I don't know anything.
The brutality of the murder leads Lieutenant Joe Kenda down a shadowy path to a painful truth.
He was the father figure to them.
This is as serious as it gets. The movies and television cannot and do not portray violent death. They all think they do, and viewers all think that that is what it looks like, and it ain't. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
1 a.m. It's the night before New Year's Eve. Folks in Colorado Springs are gearing up for end-of-the-year celebrations that will usher in a new decade. At a convenience store on the east side of town.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Clerk Ricky Holden struggles with an endless stream of holiday revelers.
You gonna party?
New Year's was always a crazy time of the year.
You've got people who frankly start to pre-party days before the event. It makes it difficult, I think, for anybody who has to deal with the public.
What's up? Hello? Yeah. Can't do it right now.
Ricky was taking care of customers in the store, and as he was ringing up the sale, he hears a thud coming from outside.
He runs out to check. There's a man laying on the ground with a large pool of blood.
Meanwhile, at police headquarters, Lieutenant Joe Kenda and his fellow officers are dealing with their own strain of holiday chaos.
For some reason, people find it very important to fire weapons into the air to celebrate the new year. And in their mind,
Hey man, come on. I didn't do anything.
so all of the substations around the city, they're filled with drunks, filled with arrests, profanity is the order of the day.
Anything happens to my 22, I'm gonna personally sue your ass.
Sure. You want my badge number? Yeah. Inventory that.
So we wind up with confiscated weapons being stacked into the building out of the hands of the drunk. Everything is really, really out of control.
Central booking?
That's when Kenda gets the call about an incident at a convenience store on the east side.
Lieutenant? It's Kenda. Yeah, I know where that is. I'll be right there. Hey, reach my radio if you need me.
Yes. When I hear this is an address on Fountain Boulevard, I immediately know this is going to be very serious. This is a high crime area at the time. We've had as many as half a dozen homicides in that area in less than a month.
Kenda arrives to find a crowd of onlookers demanding to know what's happening.
The neighbors, they're not impressed by our presence.
How you doing? Good, how are you doing, sir? Okay, so what do we got?
Oh, Lieutenant, the victim's being transported to St. Francis. He doesn't look good.
What are his injuries?
Not sure, he's just covered in blood.
When somebody's hair is matted in blood and their face is covered in blood, it is very difficult to tell what has happened to them. Has he been shot? Has he been stabbed? Has he been run over?
But the unknown nature of the injuries isn't the only mystery surrounding the victim.
Do you know who he is?
No idea on him.
Thank you.
Apparently he wasn't carrying any identification on his person. We not only have a whodunit, we have a who is. You can't have anything more difficult than a circumstance where you don't even know who the victim is, let alone who hurt him in the manner in which he's been hurt.
Kenda begins by taking a look at where his John Doe was found.
There's a large amount of blood in the parking lot in front of the business.
The wide swath of blood-covered asphalt gives Kenda his first clue.
When you find bleeding at a crime scene, very often it's drainage, meaning it is pouring from a still body by the force of gravity. This is not the case here. There's obvious smearing and movement going on in the blood. So there is a struggle going on between the person.
Did the victim sustain a gunshot and then fight back? Kenda asked responding officers if they've recovered any additional physical evidence.
They say they searched the area for expended casings and didn't find any. And I get closer to where the blood is, and I see pieces of this wood laying there covered in blood.
As Kenda continues surveying the scene, he receives some grim news from the hospital.
St. Francis called. Our victim. DOA. Thank you.
So now we have a homicide. All we're certain of is he's dead.
Still looking for answers, Kenda turns his attention to store clerk Ricky.
How you doing, Lieutenant Kenda? How you doing, sir?
He's observant, he's cooperative, he's intelligent.
Did you see the victim earlier? Oh, yeah.
He says he notices a Hispanic male in his middle 20s on the payphone outside the building.
I stopped paying attention to the guy because I had these 3 customers in line. It made me a little nervous. Can you tell me about that?
Hey, man. I'm about to put it together on my... Hey, attack the smoke street, please. What? Attack the smoke, please. The hard pack.
2 black males, early 20s. And they're obviously friends, and they're laughing and pushing and shoving each other and basically having a good time. With them is a teenage girl.
Wrap it up, dog. Pick it up and wrap it up, please.
What happened next? They left. I took it out. This customer in line.
Ricky tells Kenda that just moments after the 2 men left the store, he heard a strange noise, followed by what sounded like a woman screaming.
And he looks up in time to see a small white car leave the parking lot at a high rate of speed. He doesn't see who's in it, but he assumes it's the people that just left, the 2 black guys and the white girl.
Would you recognize anyone if you saw him again? Oh, yeah. Took a real good look at him. Did you happen to see the license number? Didn't see it. I'm pretty sure the car was like gray or whitish.
Having information that is a light-colored car is pretty meaningless. What distinguishes it from every other car? It's better than nothing, I suppose, but it's pretty close to nothing.
No, I appreciate that.
Thankfully, it's not long before Kenda gets some much-needed help from the most unlikely of individuals.
As the investigation is progressing, a lady walks up, kind of stumbling up to the crime scene. And it's obvious she's been drinking, celebrating the New Year's.
Hey, somebody has to let me know.
We look at her and we say, hey, it's a crime scene and it doesn't include you, so hit it.
The license plate. Get off of me.
Wait, send her through. What license plate?
I saw the white car that was speeding off with the people in it. I tried to tell these dudes over here, they don't believe me.
And she gives us a license plate number with the last 3 digits.
The last 3 digits were 114.
Now that is huge.
You sure that's what it was?
Yes.
We find a light-colored car with the right kind of people in it. They're close to that combination of numbers. We're in business. We're investigating a murder at a convenience store with more unknowns than there are knowns. We have an unknown victim, we have an unknown cause of death, and we have no way of determining where we can find the only people of interest we're aware of.
But just when it seems Kenda has hit a dead end,
Let me through.
a woman comes forward with a partial license plate number.
They Is our witness a mathematical genius? Probably not.
The last 3 digits were 114.
She's had a few drinks. She appears to be a little spacey even when she's not drinking, but she says 114.
Thank you. We head back to the table. What do you need to be put out on that? Could you do that for me?
An APB on a...
Then, a call comes into the convenience store. Curiously, the caller asks to speak with the officer in charge of the investigation.
Hello?
Hey, Lieutenant. There's a woman on the phone in here. May have some information you might want to talk to her.
I'll take it. Thanks.
So when I pick up the phone, I give my name, and can I help you?
It's Lieutenant Kenda.
And this woman says her name is Yvonne Wallace.
Yes, hello, sir. My name is Yvonne. I got a voicemail from the convenience store.
She says she's got a boyfriend named Miguel Mendez, and he's 25 years old, and he called her from that area and needed a ride home.
According to Yvonne, Miguel left her a message saying he'd find a ride and not to worry. But he never made it home.
She explains that she drove around to see if she could find him, and she saw the police at the convenience store, and she got very frightened.
Kenda has a feeling he's just identified his victim.
We asked her to describe Miguel to us on the phone.
He's 5'10", brown hair. He was wearing a gray shirt with a black hoodie.
Size and appearance of our victim. Plus, Yvonne, someone's been hurt here at this store. I just said hurt. And I want you to meet me at St. Francis Hospital emergency room in 15 minutes. Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do that. 15 minutes.
I'm going to have her look at this body and tell me if it's Miguel Mendez. That's not a nice thing to do. Nothing about what I do is nice.
But before Yvonne arrives at the hospital, Kenda and his men hope to solve the mystery of what killed her boyfriend Miguel.
How you doing? We're investigating this murder. Do you have a cause of death yet?
Multiple skull fractures.
Are there any bullet wounds or knife wounds or anything like that?
Looks like he was beaten pretty badly, broken ribs, bruises all over.
Thank you.
I look at his head. It's obvious he's been struck and beaten with a blunt object. As I look closer, I see splinters of wood in his hair.
The splinters remind Kenda of something he saw at the crime scene.
I've seen a lot of murder weapons. I've never seen firewood used as one. It is a weapon of opportunity. Somebody is so enraged that beating on this person with feet and fists isn't enough. So he picks up something and uses it in the course of the assault. Not because it's firewood, but because it's there.
The savage nature of the attack against Miguel gives Kenda a clue about the identity of his killer.
Somebody was pretty upset at this person. You don't normally see this kind of activity among strangers. We need to find out who he was with, who his friends are.
But first, Kenda must break the news of Miguel's death to his girlfriend, Yvonne.
I look at this body. I clean his face to make him look slightly more presentable, and trust me, it was only slightly.
This is Lieutenant Kenda. Yvonne? Yes. The person that was hurt earlier tonight, unfortunately, has passed away. And now that's who we have right here.
I said, you're about to see something you've never seen. And I'm sorry I have to put you through this, but I'm afraid I must.
Is that Miguel?
I said, is that Miguel?
Is that Miguel?
Yes, she screams.
Nurse? Hey, nurse in here, please.
I call a nurse, and we need to have her looked at. can't do that. My job is to find who killed Miguel Mendez.
After giving Yvonne a few minutes to collect herself,
Excuse me, may I have a moment?
Kenda and his men ask if they can talk to her about Miguel.
I said, Yvonne, you have to help me. Miguel would want you to do that for him.
Can you tell me a little bit about Miguel?
According to Yvonne, Miguel was 25 years old and worked in construction as a cement finisher. Yvonne had been his common-law wife for more than 3 years.
Yvonne and Miguel didn't have children together, but she had 5 children, and he was the father figure to them. And they were attached to him. So there's a huge emotional loss for her and for them.
Do you know anything about what happened tonight?
No, we were at the bar and drinking, and everything was fine. Bring it in, Laura.
He had been out earlier that evening with Mr. Mendez. And a person she identified as Hector. And a friend of hers. And they had had several drinks together.
I think I'm gonna go home, okay?
And after a while, her and her friend decided that they were going to leave. Her boyfriend decided that he would stay with Hector and have a couple more drinks. He would be home later.
So we are just beginning this case. Now we know who he was with. On the night he died.
Kenda wonders, did Hector and Miguel get into a drunken argument that escalated into murder?
No, man, I done told you too many times, bro.
And this Hector, you know where we can find him?
Yeah.
Now, if we assume this is a rage killing, it is likely that an acquaintance of his is responsible.
Hey, Miguel. Good too, man.
What better choice than the man was last seen with him?
Yeah, I'm walking. Miguel? I'm walking, that's it.
Hector, I am in your future. You just don't know it yet. Savagely beaten to death in front of this convenience store. Patrol is out looking for the suspect vehicle when my interest has been piqued by another suspect. We find the last person he was seen alive with was a friend named Hector Rodriguez. We have determined where Hector lives, and we're about to confront him.
Yeah? How you doing? I'm Lieutenant Kenda from the Colorado Springs Police Department. I'm looking for Hector Rodriguez. I understand he lives here.
He's my son. Come here.
He lets us in, and he gets Hector.
Hector!
And Hector is 22 years old.
What's going on? I need to talk to you about Miguel Mendez. Do you know him?
Hector says he worked with Miguel Mendez at a concrete company, and they would carpool together because Hector had a car, and Miguel never had a car.
When was the last time you saw him?
Last night, we went out for some beers after work.
Hector says that he went out in the evening, and then when Yvonne and her friend left, he and Miguel were still sitting in the bar.
We stayed, had a couple more beers.
Then after a while, Hector decided that he was going to go over to another bar, the Yukon Tavern, to have some cocktails with another friend of his.
Y'all have a safe ride home.
Thank you. It's so happy New Year.
Miguel didn't want to go to the Yukon Tavern, so they parted company. Miguel walked away in one direction, he walked away in the other.
What time did you leave him?
About 10?
What time did you get home?
11:30?
All right, wait here for a second. I'll talk to your dad.
If Hector is telling the truth, it would place him back at home more than an hour before Miguel's murder. But Kenda's not about to take Hector's statement on face value.
Excuse me, sir. Can I ask you a few questions? Yeah. Were you here last night when your son got home?
Yes.
Do you remember what time that was?
Well, Johnny Carson was on. It was his monologue, so that'd be 11:45.
It appears Hector Rodriguez is telling the truth.
Is Miguel okay, or is he in any kind of trouble?
I'm afraid I have some bad news. Miguel was killed last night.
Now, Hector goes from being a possible person of interest to no one at all. And we are back to the beginning.
Now, detectives' only remaining lead is the white car seen leaving the scene.
Information had been put out to patrol officers giving a description of the possible suspect vehicle, as well as a partial license plate number.
10 a.m. Officer Dave Fisher is out on routine patrol in southeast Colorado Springs when he hears an APB over his radio.
They heard that a small white vehicle was seen leaving the scene, and they gave a license plate number.
This officer is aware we're looking for this light-colored car. He is aware it contains at least one black male, maybe two, and a white female.
As if on cue, Officer Fisher spots a white car approaching from the opposite direction.
One has to remember something about police officers. They are trained observers. They read people extremely well. He sees a black male, and he sees on his face what is referred to in the cop world as the look. He sees a fear factor in this guy's eyes. Suspicious.
I made the U-turn and then observed the license plate number, and it was 114.
Possibly spotted the suspect vehicle.
And the red lights come on in that police car. And he stops.
When an officer approaches a suspect vehicle of any type of violent crime, certainly their senses are heightened. You don't know the state of mind of the person or persons that are in the vehicle.
Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Put your hands on the steering wheel, man. Put your hands on the dash. Slowly reach down when you see some kind of identification.
Look, I don't have any ID, officer.
I don't either.
We don't have any with us, really.
Go ahead and step out of the car for me. Slowly.
What's this
Keep
about?
your hands where I can see them.
You need to tell me what this is about?
Set on your jacket.
It was at that time I noticed wet spots on his shirt, and I asked him what that was on his shirt, and he said it was taco sauce. But it didn't look like taco sauce to me.
Dispatch to Kenda.
Go for Kenda.
A car matching the description from the APB was pulled over. One black male and one white female.
Well, now, my whole attitude changes.
10-4, I'm on the way. Kenda out.
I was feeling sorry for myself after we left Hector's house that now we're all of a sudden back in gear and driving forward.
What was that?
How you doing? So what do we got?
Stop this white car up here. He's got some blood on his shirt. Or do you want to talk to her?
Though it's the first concrete lead, Kenda knows he'll need more than a partial license plate and what looks like a blood stain to officially declare these two people suspects.
Well, it's New Year's Day weekend. Who knows? You get blood in you a lot of ways. You could have been in 3 other fights and not the one we're concerned about. I want to make certain we got the right people here.
To do that, Kenda reaches out to the crime's initial eyewitness.
Ricky Holden told us when we interviewed him at the convenience store that he would be able to identify these people if he ever saw them again. Well, I'm going to give him that opportunity.
Half an hour later, Kenda returns with the man who seemingly holds the key to solving the case.
I've got Ricky sitting inside the car with the windows up. Girls in one car, guys in another car. And this is make or break. He's either going to get excited and say that's them, or he's going to say it isn't. It isn't going to be maybe. We're investigating the beating death of a young construction worker. We believe we have 2 suspects stopped, and I'm conducting a field identification by Ricky Holden, our best witness.
All right, take your time, Ricky.
I don't need to
to take my time. That's them. That's definitely them.
There it is. He said the other guy's not with him, but that's the girl and that's the guy, period.
You gotta wrap it up. I'm in a hurry, all right?
That's as good as it gets when it comes down to witness identification.
I'll pull him out of the car and cuff him.
The positive ID gives Kenda enough probable cause to bring the two suspects into custody.
What's your name?
Bienvenido, but my friends call me Ben.
Let's get the blood on your shirt.
Look, man, I don't know nothing about that, man. That was all Anthony.
Who's Anthony?
One of my friends.
You have great taste in friends, my boy. Let's go to my office. We will talk about this some more.
Let's take a ride down to the station and tell me about Anthony.
So we get our man into an interrogation room. He is Ben Callwood. He's 19 years old.
Why don't you tell me what happened last night, Ben?
Who was at this party?
I should find out. That's kind of cool. Ben Callwood tells Kenda that he and his fiancée Jenny had been at a pre-New Year's beer bash, and they left with Anthony to pick up some snacks.
Hey, baby. I'm on the corner of Chelton Road.
I appreciate it. Let's go, baby. So we walk out to the car. All of a sudden, I can't see Andy. I turn around and I see him arguing with some Mexican man down the side.
He sees Anthony pick up a bundle of firewood from in front of the store, strike this guy with it in the head.
Hey, come on in.
Guys!
He says he goes over there and he's going to break them up. And he says that's where he got the blood on him when he tried to separate them.
I ran out to go stop Anthony. I was like, look, man, we gotta go and everything. That's how I got the blood on my jacket.
Ben Callwood's story gels with the physical evidence. But Kenda isn't sure whether Ben is telling the truth or trying to pin the crime on his friend.
Once again, I'm innocent. It isn't me. It's him. He wants to paint himself as a peacemaker, and you know it's not true.
Stay put. I'll be back.
Kenda decides to let Ben Callwood sweat it out in the interrogation room and turns his attention instead to Ben's fiancée, Jenny.
Have a seat.
Ben didn't do anything.
Okay, let's just back up a second. So, Ben's your fiancé.
Yes, he is.
How old are you?
16.
She says that she's a junior in high school. And you think, what are you doing running around with these guys?
So what happened at the store?
Anthony started beating on the guy with a piece of wood. He was like a crazy person.
What's Ben doing at the store?
Ben was trying to stop Anthony.
Now she keeps insisting Ben didn't do anything, but she's protecting her intended. And it's pretty obvious that she is. And I said, stop.
Jenny, at this point, you're not going to, and you will go to prison. So you want to tell me what really happened?
Whether or not you get involved in this up to your pretty little neck or whether you don't is going to depend on your answer to my question. Now, what did Ben do?
I don't know why you don't believe me. Is the Mexican guy saying that Ben was beating on him too or something? I mean...
What'd you say?
Suddenly, it dawns on Kenda that Jenny doesn't understand the gravity of the situation.
You do realize that this guy's dead.
They killed him.
And her eyes get huge. She looked at me and said, you're kidding.
They beat that man to death.
I said, no, I don't kid about that, dear. This is a murder. I know Anthony was fighting Miguel Mendez. I know that Ben was probably participating in it as well. However, his fiancée, Jenny, has been refusing to admit it.
You do realize this guy's dead. They beat that man to death.
That young man was DOA at St. Francis Hospital from the beating provided by your two companions. Now you understand why we're here discussing this. This is as serious as it gets. Tell me what you saw.
Well, I guess Ben did beat the guy a little bit.
All right, well, that's close enough for me. For charging purpose, he's a participant in a beating death.
All right, you're free to go for now.
I've released the girl to the custody of her parents. We're not charging her with offense. Ben, I'm keeping.
Sir, stand up, please. You're under arrest.
Ben Callwood is placed under arrest for the murder of Miguel Mendez.
I didn't murder anybody.
But Kenda's other suspect, Anthony Scott, is still at large. Later that day, a call comes into the precinct with a promising lead.
Lieutenant Kenda.
The caller's name is Rose Garcia. She says she heard about the murder on the news, and on the night in question, she was at a house party. She's at the party and everybody's drinking and people are coming and going. But she specifically remembers two guys laughing.
Yeah, right? You had to make sure he was down. Bang! Right there, right in front of me. That's what I saw. That's what I saw.
And saying they just really screwed a guy up at a convenience store in a parking lot.
I saw that. I saw that. You always know who exploded. I was like,
Well, is it that swell? That's exactly who I'm looking for now.
Kenda heads straight to the home of the party's hostess, Lisa Schmidt.
We think Lisa's going to be able to tell us if Anthony's invited. She probably knows where he lives. So we're knocking on Lisa's door. Nobody's answering. Finally, a male answers the door.
Yeah, man.
He's shielding his eyes from the light.
Lieutenant Kenda from the Colorado Springs Police Department. And you are?
Tyrone.
Tyrone, we're looking for an Anthony Scott. Do you know him?
Nah, I never heard of him.
Tyrone. That's my boyfriend, but I own the place.
So this female approaches behind him and says that this is her apartment, and that's her boyfriend, Tyrone.
You had a party here last night?
Yes, sir.
We have reason to believe that Anthony Scott was at that party?
There were a lot of people coming in and out. It was a party.
She's giving the standard bullshit answer to the question. You don't get anywhere being nice to people. You get somewhere with pressure.
Right now, Anthony's wanted for murder. If you know something about it that you're not telling me, we can charge you with harboring a fugitive. That's a felony. If you've got something to say, you better say it right now.
All of a sudden, here comes our man, Tyrone.
You know, some of my friends do call me Anthony.
You're Anthony Scott?
Yes, sir.
Well, isn't that a shock? On Tyrone?
Over here. Hey, step back. Come on.
I did not.
Kenda has his prime suspect in cuffs, but if there's any hope of making felony charges stick, he needs physical evidence tying Anthony Scott to the murder.
Once the investigators determined that they were, in fact, talking with Anthony and Lisa, they were then able to conduct a search of that apartment.
The officers go in and start their search.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Free guy?
And within a matter of 5 minutes, they say, come in and look at this.
It's a man's sweatshirt, covered in blood.
When you attack someone with a blood instrument, the first blow produces blood, the second blow disperses it, and every blow thereafter, all this blood belongs to Miguel Mendez, because he hit him many, many times.
Man, I know my rights. I want a lawyer.
Okay, that's fine. You have your right to a counsel.
Sure.
You know what, Anthony? We really don't need to talk to you. We've got the evidence we need.
Even without a confession, Kenda has enough to piece together the tragedy that led to Miguel's death.
So, how did this all come to be what it became? Miguel Mendez is out with his friends.
We'll get more, babe. We'll get more. Stop being cheap.
They are drinking.
Is that way? Store is that way? No, it's that way. Oh, I'm sorry.
And everybody sort of leaves him.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
So he's alone.
Hey, baby. I'm calling to see if you were home.
Running okay? So there he is, standing on the payphone in exactly the wrong place on planet Earth.
Love you. Bye.
At precisely the wrong moment.
Hey, y'all, can I get a ride down the road?
No, man, sorry.
Come on, man. It's freezing out here. Hey, man, hey, bro, can I get a ride down the road? No. Come on, man.
So now Miguel is annoyed that the answer is no, and he tells the guy, who knows what he says.
Yeah, you then.
And Anthony's reply is,
What you just say?
You.
on the street, you diss someone, you show them disrespect.
Come here. Go ahead, don't worry about it, man.
It's not to be tolerated by street people. That's important to them. It's not important to anybody else on the planet, but it's important to them. Anthony loses it.
You can almost predict assaults in which alcohol was involved. Because alcohol can really lead to violence in a very explosive way.
He grabs the first thing he can get his hands on, which is a bundle of firewood, and he wheels this guy in the head with it. Miguel, at this point, goes down. And so, Ben, what's Ben doing? He joins in, like in the frenzy of this attack. They are kicking him in the head, kicking him in the chest, punching him on the ground. They get back in the car, and they run. Miguel never moves.
Ultimately, Anthony Scott pleads guilty to murder, accepting a sentence of 24 years to life. Ben Colwood pleads guilty to being an accessory and is given 8 years.
Stranger killings are very unusual and the toughest cases to resolve. It is so tragic because it's so meaningless. We have an entire family of victims, not just one man. A guy who wants a ride. That's a death penalty offense, asking for a ride. I guess it depends on who you ask.
A random act of terror claims a young life and leaves a city on edge.
The purpose of this particular device was to kill an individual.
The worst kind of criminal is a bomber. He doesn't care who he killed.
It's up to Detective Joe Kenda to stop the mayhem before more innocent lives are lost.
The boys were not the intended victims.
To bring this madman to justice, Kenda must pinpoint the real target of his rage.
Could this be revenge? It's very difficult to say why conspiracies fall apart, but they always do. Somebody always comes forward. What's more important to you, your loyalty to your friend or your own life? There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
In Colorado Springs, Sundays are normally reserved for peace and quiet.
Many people may be off in the mountains, doing their hiking, or just at home relaxing and doing chores.
For small business owner Barry Upwater, his empty office is a welcome opportunity to catch up on paperwork.
He didn't think much of it because it was just boys. And he went about doing what he does. So imagine being in your business on a Sunday afternoon and this happens.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The child is covered in what looks like soot. Could be blood. His arms are out. What do you do?
Oh my God.
He had been hit by the blast and explosion.
Meanwhile, on the outskirts of town, Detective Joe Kenda is spending some quality time with his family.
Right here.
This is early in my career. 1977. I was a homicide detective. I was not a supervisor or a boss.
Here, let me show you. All right, we hold it. Try to put your fingers on the strings. Push your wrist when you throw.
Okay, I get it, Dad. Let me try it again.
Just as Kenda's son makes his best throw yet,
Better.
his special moment is interrupted.
Hey, Joe.
What is it? We're playing.
Joe, it's the office.
Hello? Yes?
His face drops. He's 7 years old, and he's looking at me like I'm a Nazi war criminal. I know what he's thinking. It's because I'm leaving him in this front yard. It pains me.
The dispatcher fills Kenda in on the tragedy unfolding across town.
We got a 13-year-old kid killed in an explosion, and my eyes go to my own son, and I'm thinking, I don't even want to see this. Children hurt worse than anything else?
I'm sorry, buddy. Something bad's happened. I gotta go so I can help. I'll make it up to you. I promise.
Minutes later, Kenda arrives at what looks more like a war zone than a crime scene.
There's still smoke rising from the area of the dumpster. There are fire trucks there, an ambulance, medical people.
You have to check for any injuries, for civilians, clear the area out to make sure no one else gets hurt.
Hey, Joe. So what's going on? So this place is a waste management facility. The explosion went off by one of their dumpsters. Bomb techs are trying to figure out now what caused it.
We did have bomb squad members on scene. There were not that many explosions in Colorado Springs, so that was kind of an unusual call in that respect.
I said there was a child? Yeah, a little boy got him covered up over there.
They've identified this child as Daniel Carson. He's 13 years old.
The victim is a 7th grader at Carmel Junior High School, where he excelled at both academics and sports.
When a child is a victim of a violent crime, they flash in front of you. It's like having a nightmare when you're awake.
But the size of the sheet covering...
God.
little brother was with him. His name's John. He's a little lucky kid. He only got some shrapnel.
Lucky and unlucky.
Children don't understand death. They don't think it's final. They are distraught, and you can't fix it.
Do you mind going down and talking to his mom? He's down there with a fire truck. And, I'll take care of this up here and talk to the bomb techs.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Mrs. Carson?
Yeah.
She is still in shock from it.
I want to be able to help you as much as I can. But is it okay if I speak with your son?
This young man lost his brother. And so we're expecting a lot from this little body and this little mind.
It's okay, Mom. Oh. We were just playing in the lot, and then we noticed the dumpsters.
Dude, so many kids in here. Going up.
He and his brother Daniel were collecting aluminum cans. They always did this to make a little extra money. They would sell them for their refuse value.
According to John, as he and Daniel sifted through the rubbish, something caught their attention.
We found 2 boxes, and they were each like this big.
So about a foot long?
Yeah, I think they were ammo boxes. What are these?
They didn't know what they were.
Whoa, those look cool.
So they pulled them out from under the dumpster, he and his brother. They were identical.
Let's see what's inside.
So his brother Daniel said, I'm going to open this one. And John told him, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Don't be a wuss. I don't know how to get into it.
Daniel, put it down.
And that was that moment where everything changed.
Can you tell me what you remember?
I just remember getting up and running away.
Kenda is heartbroken by the story, but he must get as much information as possible from John Carson before the young man is transported to the hospital.
John, this is very important. You said there were 2 of those metal boxes?
Yeah, 2 of them.
And did the other one explode as well?
And that makes everyone stop and think. 1 box exploded. What will the second box do?
Hey! There's another one by the dumpster! The ammo box the bomb!
Is it designed to detonate when police begin their investigation? Or, worse than that, is it now unstable because of the discharge of the other device?
Everybody clear out!
So you have this other complication of a second detonation that could kill somebody else. So we immediately move everybody back 100 yards. Then a bomb tech gets on a bomb suit. Will it save his life? Maybe. It's certainly better than nothing.
Okay, good deal. You know the procedure. Take it easy.
So they send a man in, close to the area, to survey. What he's looking for is detonation wires, tripwires, and so on.
So here we have police officers going in to personally see if that's a box that will explode when they touch it.
Open it and see what's inside.
It's a very tense time. You're half expecting to hear another explosion. We have 2 kids, 13, 11 years old, brothers that are looking for tin cans, and they find a bomb.
Daniel, put it down.
The survivor reports there could be a second box, indicating the presence of another device.
Second bomb.
ammo can with dynamite and a grenade fusing system inside. There's a string attached to the spoon release.
10-4. Take it easy. Open it and see what's inside.
Definitely.
We use certain different types of devices, rendering it safe. The particular techniques that we use, I cannot discuss.
You don't know what's going to happen here, and it's very distressing.
Carefully disassembles the spoon mechanism on the fusing system.
I got it. We'll give you all clear.
Roger, all clear. All clear! All clear! So what do you think? It's a homemade bomb?
It's definitely homemade. Whoever made it's got access to military explosives, and they know how to work with them.
Based on my own experience, the worst kind of criminal is a bomber. He doesn't care who he kills.
They'd taken a hand grenade detonator and attached it to the end of that box, and then there was a pound and a half of military TNT in the box that had plastic caps attached to both and hooked to the fusing system.
In the bottom was melted wax and all sorts of metal parts to create shrapnel. So it propels these forward, resulting in the same effect as if you had a gigantic shotgun.
So if someone in the military? Who else would have access to a grenade and dynamite?
So the next question is obvious. Who is our bomber trying to kill? Obviously, it's not to kill two young boys who randomly showed up that morning to collect cans.
Kenda takes a look around, contemplating possible intended targets.
Could this be revenge? Somebody who's unhappy with Upwater Sanitation? Somebody who wants someone from that company to die?
To answer those questions, Kenda starts with the...
distressed about this entire event?
I'm Detective Kenda. You think of anyone that might want to harm you or your business?
Then he said, well, I did fire a guy named Frederick Boyles.
I felt bad about it. He was just making mistakes, not responding to our training. But I felt like we parted okay.
Kenda wonders if, after being let go at Upwater, Frederick Boyles decided to get even.
Sometimes people fester. Frederick Boyles certainly would have some motive to be vengeful.
Any idea where I can find this guy?
Yeah, I'm sure I've got his address on file in the office.
Everything begins with a first step, and Mr. Boyles is going to be our first step.
That evening, Kenda and one of his fellow detectives are knocking at 4645 Picturesque Drive.
Can I help you?
We're looking for a Frederick Boyles. We were wondering if you lived here by chance.
Who's asking?
Colorado Springs PD?
I don't know any Frederick Boyles.
She's absolutely lying, and there's no question in my mind she's lying.
This guy? Maybe you haven't heard of a Frederick Boyles. You have heard of obstruction of justice?
Yeah, I know this man. This is my husband, Rick Coons.
Excuse me? So now a red flag launches into the air. We have a man with more than one identity. What's that about?
Rick.
And here comes Rick Coons, a.k.a. Frederick Boyles. He looks rattled and embarrassed.
You guys want to come in? I can explain.
And what they soon learned is the difference in the two names was a matter of being able to rent a home.
The owner of this apartment complex disapproves of people aren't living together.
Well, we lied to him and told him that we were already married. My girl's last name is Coons, so I told him my name is Rick Coons.
He has an explanation, as bizarre as it may sound.
Kenda isn't concerned about Frederick Boyle's personal life. He wants to know if Frederick had the motive and the materials to build a pair of deadly bombs.
So, how long did you serve in the United States Army? And he says, well, I was never in the Army. Do you know anybody in the Army? No, I don't.
Did you hear what happened at Upwater Sanitation earlier today? The explosion was all over the news.
I used to work there. What happened?
Why don't you first explain to us why you were terminated from the company?
The ultimate mistake was he saw a transmission leak under this truck and decided to continue on his route. The transmission leak got worse and it seized the engine of the truck. And it cost the company a fortune to repair the vehicle.
Barry could have taken the money out of my check. But instead, he just let me go. Don't drive.
So, there's nothing here that says he's our bomb maker. He's not in the military. He had no ill feelings toward Barry Upwaters. His bizarre story about his identity is neither here nor there. You can be Captain America if you choose to be. It's a free country.
With this once promising lead now a dead end, Kenda and one of his fellow detectives return to the station to put their heads together. As the detectives discuss their next move, a new lead presents itself.
10-4, be right there.
The guy has walked into the front lobby of the police station, whose name is Robert Husher. He's a former employee of Upwater Sanitation. He knows about those bombs, and he's a former military guy. Oh my. This is almost too good to be true. Investigating at this point the murder of a 13-year-old child by an explosive device that's homemade. We have a person named Robert Husher, the former employee of Upwater Sanitation, walking into the police station saying he knows about this.
Robert Husher, correct?
Yes, that's me.
I hear you have some information on the bombing that happened earlier.
Yeah, I'm over at Upwater every week.
I thought you said you didn't work there anymore.
He would put his garbage in the dumpster in front of Upwater Sanitation routinely. So a few days before this explosion, he notices 2 military ammo cans under the dumpster. He thought they might make toolboxes. He looks at it and realizes the bottom has been cut out of it, and he just thought it wouldn't suit his purposes. And he left.
Robert Husher explains that when the deadly explosion at Upwater Sanitation became the talk of the town, he put 2 and 2 together.
I think that those boxes were used as the bombs. I touched them.
Means you're alive. Lucky for you. The kid who touched them wasn't so lucky.
Kenda wonders if Robert Husher, like former colleague Frederick Boyles, might have built the 2 bombs as payback for being fired from Upwater.
What if he's trying to explain the presence of his fingerprints on the device that didn't explode? And he is involved in this.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to come in. Would you also be willing to take a lie detector test as well?
A lie detector? A lie detector test?
And that's something that a lie detector test doesn't like.
Oh, you don't like a polygraph, Mr. Husher? How come? What are you not telling us?
Kenda is beginning to believe Robert Husher may be a viable suspect, but he also knows Mr. Husher isn't in the right frame of mind for taking a polygraph.
So we can't possibly test him in his emotional state.
Relax, Robert. Why don't you stay here with Detective Jackson? I'm going to go make a couple phone calls.
We go back to Barry Upwater.
Mr. Upwater? This is Detective Kenda. I have a Robert Husher here down at the station. I understand he used to work for you?
Oh, yeah. A sterling employee. I really like that guy. I certainly understood his reason for leaving. I was just sorry to lose him.
Based on Kenda's conversation with Barry Upwater, it seems Robert Husher was telling the truth.
He came of his own volition. He answered the call to be a good citizen.
So, what's the story?
Upwater says he's clean. A polygraph won't be necessary.
Looks like you're free to go.
Okay, thank you.
So nothing about Mr. Husher is any more than ultimately a dead end.
Detective Jackson. Yes, sir.
So we're sitting on our hands wondering what to do next when ATF calls a cleaning crew in a government-owned property in town, and they discovered a 1-pound block of TNT in the garage. Well now, that could be significant.
20 minutes later, the detectives pull up to the site of the abandoned house.
Hey, go on. Did you find anything in the search?
Nope. In fact, this place doesn't look like it was used to manufacture bombs or anything else. Just a storage site. But we did find a lot of dynamite.
Issue?
Yep.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Did you check the lot number?
When the manufacturer makes the explosives, they put a lot number so it can be traced back. And they can tell law enforcement when that batch was made, who it was sold to, and where it was shipped to.
There's just one problem with the TNT found at the crime scene.
There are no numbers. They've been removed by scratching them off with a blade. So there's no way to connect them.
This guy certainly knows how to cover his tracks. Is there any test you can do?
I can send it to the chem lab for some work.
And even though the lot numbers don't match back to the Upwater explosion, ATF does recognize the numbers from another recent incident.
An ATF agent purchased a 1-pound block of TNT in an undercover sting operation from the same lot number, and they have a...
Okay, so where's the rest of it?
Man, that's all the dynamite I got.
Well, where did you get these?
Some guy named Bob McWalters.
He says that Bob McWalters is in the United States Army, has access to untold amounts of explosives, and believes that Bob is an active black market in explosives and bomb making in Colorado Springs.
Shortly after sunrise the following morning, Colorado Springs PD and ATF converge on the mobile home where Robert McWalters lives.
It's a guy who deals in explosives and tripwires and grenade fuses. You use an extra amount of caution when you approach this place.
There's a car parked here. I think he's in there.
Hey guys, just hang tight back here for a few until we clear the area. When it's safe to come up, I'll let you know.
You never know if this is going to be life or death or a pleasant conversation. It's the nature of police work. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Bob, come out with your hands up now!
So at this moment, we have a group of officers and a group of ATF agents, and we are at the home of the reported TNT dealer, Bob McWalters. We're about to make contact and find out what he's got to say for himself.
Police! Bob, come out with your hands up! Make the cipher easier for everyone! Please, come out with your hands up, Bob! On your knees. Put your hands on your head. Cover him.
We are treating him as a suspect because he's been reported to us as a dealer in illegal explosives.
We're here because we know about the dynamite.
Have you been stealing bomb materials from the Army and selling them to the public?
That's crazy. I've never done anything like that. I have some dynamite, but I didn't steal it and I didn't sell it.
He says he finds a bucket near a creek bed. Whoa. That contains TNT and blasting caps. He crawls under his trailer and recovers this bucket. There are fuses in the bucket, which are explosive devices. There's no TNT. What happened to the TNT, Mr. McWalters?
I think we need to continue this conversation at our house, Bob. Let's take a while.
He He's not in the comfort of his own front yard. He's in an interrogation room and a police station. He's in a jam and he knows it.
So, Bob, that bucket you showed us, fuses in it.
He's committed a felony by producing this bucket.
I'm really sorry, guys. I've been lying to you.
So how about a little truth?
I did steal TNT from the Army. I did. But I didn't have any other choice.
He says he's a young enlisted guy. He's not making enough money. His wife wants to start a family. He has heard that people sell TNT on the street to buyers.
I was just trying to make some extra cash. It was dumb.
What about the bomb that blew up the kid? It was on the news. Have you seen it? 13-year-old kid named Daniel Carson?
I don't know anything about that. Really, truly, I promise.
Has he committed a crime? Yes. Did he commit this crime? I'm not sure about that.
Stay right here.
It's not clear what motive Bob McWalters would have to actually plant the bombs outside Upwater Sanitation. So Kenda decides to do a background check.
Detective Kenda.
And that's when the investigation takes a nosedive.
Do you know how we had the black market TNT we found chemically tested against your bomb?
Yes.
The results from it are in.
And?
There is no match. They come from different lots and were probably stolen by different people.
Surprising. I mean, how common is TNT in this town?
Apparently, more common than we thought.
I appreciate the help. Thanks. Bye.
So our McWalters connection blows off into the wind. What he removed was not what was used to build these bombs. So we are back to the beginning. Who took it?
Though Bob McWalters is still on the hook for illegal possession of explosives, all Kenda knows is that the material used in the bombing at Upwater was Army-issued. In a military town like Colorado Springs, that doesn't exactly narrow down the list of suspects.
Anyone that lives in the city limits and even beyond could be responsible for devices. Were they built for a purpose and then simply abandoned? Are they some sort of prank that never got concluded? From our determination, Upwater Sanitation is not the intended victim of anything.
With no motive, no suspect, and a single lot of TNT as evidence, the case against the mysterious bomber loses momentum.
For the next few years, a lot of leads come in, but none of it turns out to be anything. This case goes cold. Cases can go cold, not because the perpetrator is a genius, because they're just lucky.
No one is more devastated by the case's lack of progress than the family of young Daniel Carson.
I can't imagine losing a child and being okay with not understanding why it happened or who did it. It wasn't one that I'm sure the homicide team forgot about.
A 13-year-old child. Very disturbing. But you do what you can do. You cannot do the impossible. You cannot create something from nothing.
Fast forward 17 years. Kenda, now a lieutenant, is in his command office when the phone rings.
Lieutenant Kenda.
Hi, this is Jeannie Smith.
At this point in time, I was the assistant district attorney, which was the number 2 person in the office.
How can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about the Daniel Carson case.
Okay.
Because we didn't have current information about it. The first call would have been to the Colorado Springs Police Department, to the Homicide Unit, to Joe Kenda.
I believe you investigated that case back in 1977. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, I did.
She calls me. She said, "You're not going to believe this, but I just got a call from a defense attorney who says that she has a client who has been consumed by guilt. He wants to confess to the bombing death of Daniel Carson." I almost dropped the phone. So here we are. It is now 1994. 17 years after Daniel Carson finds this device. So this fellow, whose name is Stephen Cassidy, realizes that guilt is a terrible thing, and he decides he can no longer live with his.
18-year-old case is really rare. You know it's going to be a challenge to put it back together.
So you've got him at your office right there?
Yes, he's here.
Can you transfer him over to one of our interview rooms and I'll be right there?
Certainly, I'll do that.
Thank you. Bye.
Moments later, Kenda is staring across the table at 36-year-old Stephen Cassidy.
So, Mr. Cassidy, what can you tell me about the bombing at Upwater back in 1977?
He says that when he was 19 or 20, he was in the U.S. Army. He had an associate also in the Army named Robert Varner, and that he and Robert Varner engaged in minor robberies, thefts, and various things.
We were young and dumb. I mean, most of it was harmless. Until Charlie came along.
Who's Charlie?
Charlie Caracas. Or some weird. I guess we wanted to impress him.
He is a Vietnam veteran. Caracas has bragged to them about taking human lives, that he has no compassion about killing people.
You guys want to get involved in some real shit? None of that petty stuff you guys are used to? Sure we do.
They want to impress him with their willingness to behave in the same way.
Yes, what's the plan? Got an idea to get some extra cash. I was thinking we could rob a disco, steal the customers' wallets.
This is the 70s. People had money. They didn't have plastic.
We're gonna do that with guns? Of course. But we're gonna need a distraction, just in case the cops show up before we get out of there.
So Caracas says, I will build a couple of bombs based on my experience and training, and we will use these bombs to cover our escape after the robbery.
And what's all this have to do with the sanitation company?
The disco that we were going to rob was right down the street. We figured if the cops came, we detonate the bombs for diversion.
This crazy plan appeals to these two kids because it contains machismo elements. We're going to build bombs. We're going to get thousands of dollars. We're going to blow people up if we have to. They go over there.
You guys keep gossiping.
Caracas takes the bombs and he puts them under a dumpster in front of the garbage company.
They planned the robbery and did dry runs to see how the timing would work and whether or not there was going to be any impediment to carrying out their plan.
But according to Stephen Cassidy, the robbery never made it past this initial planning.
He realized that the security was much higher than we thought it was going to be.
They assume Caracas returned and recovered the devices from the dumpster.
A month later, Stephen discovered what actually happened to the two bombs they made.
He hears the bombing and where it is. And he just knows that Caracas never went back and recovered him, as some little kid blew himself up with it.
It was horrible. We all knew, but no one said anything about it.
Kenda listens carefully as 17 years of guilt pour out. But the investigation isn't over yet.
So now the next step is find the two accomplices to see if they can corroborate this story. We discover Robert Varner living in a town in Georgia. He is married. He has a daughter who is also, interestingly enough, 13 years of age.
So you gonna tell me what I'm doing here?
Yes. We brought you in here to discuss the bombing incident that happened here back in 1977.
And he says, I want a lawyer. Okay, you can have a lawyer. But we'd like to show you something while you're considering what an attorney would like to call. Here's a picture of 13-year-old Daniel Carson after the bomb that you and Cassidy and Caracas created. He confirms to a T what Mr. Cassidy told us, detail by detail, and Caracas is the mastermind. He is responsible for the plan.
Stephen Cassidy and Robert Varner plead guilty to first-degree murder. Due to their cooperation, Varner is sentenced to 3 years in prison, and Cassidy receives 2 years of probation. But bringing the crime's ringleader, Sergeant Charles Caracas, to justice proves a more difficult task.
There was very little physical evidence that could tie Charles to the crime scene itself.
Cold cases are extremely difficult to prosecute in a courtroom. You better have a dead-bang case, or a jury is going to raise their eyebrow.
Sergeant Charles Caracas was charged, but he wasn't convicted.
The answers aren't always comforting, but they're answers. And now that they have what happened and why, and who was involved, it gives them a piece of a closure.
Daniel Carson lost his life at age 13, and nobody's ever going to pay the price for that. And it pains me, and their family continues to suffer. You will never get over the loss of a child. It's not the way of things. Your children are supposed to bury you, not the other way around.
Murder investigation. From the case files of Lieutenant Joe Kenda. Say something! An explosion of rage on the open road. What's up now? It's up to Kenda and his team to catch the killer before the situation boils over.
When you're dealing with a potentially armed suspect, you want to arrest him outside. If you try to take him in a house, he knows where his weapons are and you don't.
Then, a night of horror pits two brothers against each other.
What are you, Nelson? It wouldn't be the first time jealousy drove one brother to kill another.
And a young woman pays the price for love gone wrong.
It's like a scene out of a horror movie. There is pain and suffering with this, there's no question. I couldn't bring them back. I couldn't bring their loved one back. But I could certainly stand in their loved one's shoes and deal with who made this happen. That I could do. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
It's Saturday night in Colorado Springs, and Memorial Hospital's ER is unusually calm. Nurse Wendy Cunningham takes the opportunity to catch up on some paperwork.
You work late at night in an emergency room. You see all kinds of things. But you're never really prepared for what's going to happen. She looks out and sees a white car pulled up to the front door. And it appears as though they're pulling somebody from the back seat of this car.
People just screaming for help. I mean, total chaos.
Across town, Lieutenant Kenda is enjoying movie night at home.
It's a rare thing in my world to have a couple of hours of peace and quiet.
I can't believe you want to watch this.
Shh. I prefer mindless movies. I have enough mysteries in my life.
Kenda.
We're about to reach the conclusion of this film. Can't wait 5 minutes. We need you right now.
Tell me how it ends.
Be safe, hon.
When I got to the hospital, everyone in the ER waiting room is distressed. victim is an individual 21 years of age named Earl Pickett. He has suffered a grazing gunshot wound of the back. The second victim is a 21-year-old male whose name is Van Lee Terry.
Van has been shot in the chest and is in critical condition.
Who are the other two in the car? That's Ben Terry's siblings, Jan and Dan.
Van, Jan, and Dan.
They're triplets.
Officers tell me they didn't come there in an ambulance. They came there in a car.
Where is it? Out in the ambulance bay where they left it. Said they've been involved in a drive-by.
All right, thanks.
So I walked outside to look at the car. There's a great deal of blood inside the right rear of the car. There's so much of it, it has drained out onto the street, which tells me that Mr. Van Lee Terry is probably going to be unsuccessful in that fight. That's probably where he was sitting.
A lot of blood.
There's a bit up here, too. Not nearly as much, but a bit.
That would indicate that's where Mr. Pickett, the grazing wound victim, was sitting.
Kenda and fellow detective Brian Ritz turned their attention to the trajectory of the gunfire.
There were 2 gunshot holes in this car, near the right rear passenger door. The window is shattered, so some gunfire went through that window, which of course shot Mr. Terry and also shot Mr. Pickett. The likelihood is great that they're running next to each other and one person in the car is shooting at the other car.
Oh, hello. We recover a .380 caliber weapon from under the front seat.
It's under Pickett's seat?
In the weapon, but the magazine is empty.
Anytime that you find a weapon at the crime scene, you're going to start questioning what part does it play in the shooting.
It's entirely possible that the victims in the car fired first and initiated the encounter.
Been fired?
It's empty. Doesn't smell like it.
Recently fired weapons have a distinct odor. There's no detectable odor, so why would somebody keep a gun cocked with no bullet in the chamber?
We head inside and check on the victims.
All right. When I go back inside the hospital, the doctor comes out of the trauma center.
Doctor, how are you? Well?
No, we did everything we could for Mr. Van Terry, and at the end he just passed away.
How's Earl Pickett doing?
Oh, he's actually fine. Just came back from his room, let him know about his friend, but now I have to go inform Mr. Terry's siblings.
It's not really, is it?
No, it's not.
So, thanks, Doctor.
He gives them the news that Van did not survive.
Sorry.
You always hear about all these bonds between twins or triplets, and there must have just been like a part of you was dying.
So you've got to let that moment settle. There's no point in talking to them right now.
Instead, Kenda decides to speak with Earl Pickett.
Can you give me some minutes? Lieutenant Kenda, very sorry for your loss. Just need to ask you a few questions.
Earl may be more composed than Van's siblings, but he's still visibly shaken by the loss of his friend.
8 months ago, Van was living in Texas, and he became a father, and he came here to further his education so he could be a good provider for his new child.
Can you tell me how you came to be in the vehicle with the Terry siblings?
Hey, Jan's my girlfriend. We were just going to go see a movie with her brothers, but we missed it, so we were just driving around listening to music.
Who was driving?
Jan was, because I had been drinking.
So,
yes, sir.
I asked Earl to tell me what he remembers about the shooting itself. He says that they're driving down Platte Avenue when his car pulls up next to them.
He's been shot! He's been shot! Go to the hospital! Go to the hospital!
Did you look at the gun?
No, the windows were tinted.
Earl claims he has no idea why someone would shoot at them, but Kenda's not sure Earl's telling him the full story.
So, Earl, was there a gun under your seat?
It's my gun. I rarely use it. I just have it to keep in the car.
He's trying to minimize his connection to this weapon. That speaks volumes. Well, Earl, I think you do know. But we'll let that go for right now. So I said, all right, thank you. We'll talk again.
I'm going to talk to everyone else.
Wait. Hold on.
Well, now we're getting somewhere, maybe.
Go ahead.
Look, not long before we got shot, I was up at this fast food joint to use the bathroom. On the way in, this guy called Jalen Horso. I yelled at him.
Knew you was a little hoe. Hey, back off. Hey, yo, who you talking to, bro? I'm talking to my family. So what's up?
Then we left. He seemed pretty mad. I think he may have followed us.
Earl says this black male, he's wearing blue rubber bands in his hair.
What's your gun? Where was that when all this was happening?
It was in the car, man.
And now Earl is pedaling as fast as he can on his live bike. Well, I'm a soldier. I can't afford to get in trouble. I'll get kicked out of the army. Nah.
All right, get well soon.
I know that Earl Pickett's not telling me the whole truth. But I also know that we're going to get to the bottom of this. And whoever did this hasn't heard the last of it yet. So we're investigating a drive-by shooting. We know that there's been a disturbance that led to this shooting.
So what's up? What's up? No!
We know that Van Lee Terry is dead. And I also know that Earl Pickett's not completely truthful with me. What I don't know is who's in this other car. And that's our focus now. We go to this fast food restaurant and we see if any of the regulars are around.
How you doing?
Just fine, officers. How are y'all doing?
We here earlier tonight?
And he tells me he's a regular. And he was here and he's been here all evening.
What's your name?
Playboy. That's what they call me.
Playboy.
He thinks by calling himself Playboy, he can attract girls. Well, all right then. How's that working out for you?
All right, Playboy. We understand that this place had a bit of a crowd earlier tonight.
They were here to see me. I was supposed to fight this dude who lost me. It worked out. Can't have none of this.
Playboy boasts that at least a
They're all anticipating that this fight's going to happen. Their adrenaline's pumping. They want to see what's going to happen in this fight.
He's not here.
But the other guy never showed up, obviously out of fear of Playboy, and so therefore he's a winner.
Anything happen after that?
Not really.
What, the guys in the white car? Listen, we know there was a fight here tonight.
Oh, that one. Some dude with braids started getting into it. Those people in the car. One of the guys came out of it, and he took it up a notch.
The guy, who he describes as in the right front seat, goes to the trunk, takes out a handgun, and cocks it. Well, my opinion is that's our man Earl, brandishing his .380 auto that isn't loaded.
He didn't shoot it. Just, I don't know, everybody scattered, then he got back in the car and left.
This guy with braids, you know his name?
Never seen him before.
Playboy doesn't really know these people. Either side, he doesn't know Earl Pickett, he doesn't know anybody else.
Thanks a lot for all your help.
Yeah, no problem.
The conversation with Playboy proves Kenda's hunch that Earl Pickett hasn't been telling him the truth. But it doesn't get Kenda any closer to identifying the shooter. Now his only hope lies with Van Terry's siblings.
So now I think there's enough time for Jan to settle about the loss of her brother.
Hi. How you doing? Mind if we come in and talk to you?
She He tells me about the family and that Van has gone back to college to take care of this new child he has in his life. She's still very distraught about the loss. She repeats what is said by Earl, most of it. She says that the disturbance happens at the restaurant.
Some guy made some slick comment to me. Like he was trying to make my boyfriend mad. It's a black guy with blue rubber bands in his hair.
Come on. So what's up? What's up?
Come on now. Let's get out of here. We didn't try to start anything. What? That guy, he initiated everything. We got out of there as fast as we could.
What about the gun?
What about it?
She knew that he was in the military, and just something as simple as that could get him in a lot of trouble, so she was trying to protect him.
After pursuing her a bit, she admits that Earl did go to the trunk of the car and take out a gun and brandish the gun.
Hey, come on, man. Come on, bro.
Oh, time later.
About the car that fired on you guys when you were driving down Platte. Did you get a good look at it?
No, not the license plate. It was just a dark car with tinted windows. And the back window was down, behind the driver's side.
Things she's told me that I find interesting is the shooter's in the back seat of the suspect car, and somebody else is driving.
There's more than one person involved in this shooting. And we're starting to realize.
Detectives now know the shooter had at least one accomplice, but their identities remain a mystery. So Kenda reaches out to another potential source of information, his fellow Colorado Springs police officers.
Whenever police question an individual or suspect about one crime, we sometimes wind up intercepting information about another. That's because criminals often can't help but brag to one another about what they've done, even the killers.
It isn't long before Kenda catches a break.
What's up? Hey, Lieutenant. We receive information from one of our robbery detectives that, while working on another investigation, this confidential informant is able to tell him he has some information about a murder that occurred in Colorado Springs.
So, the CI says he's talking to this guy about this burglary, and the guy tells him that before they did the burglary, they were involved in this argument at the fast food place downtown, and they shot up a car right after that. Well, no.
So he tells me we need to talk to this guy. Mike did the burglary. Mike's partners did the shooting.
Confidential informants operate on a cash basis. They sell information. There is no loyalty among bad guys. None whatsoever. They would roll over on their own mother if it was to their advantage.
The detective tells Kenda that operating on the tip from their informant, his men found a cache of stolen goods in the home of a man named Mike Phillips and arrested him an hour ago.
Let's go talk to him.
It's an odd thing, but it happens all the time. You have a murder case that is absolutely at a dead stop, and one little piece of information comes into your hands, and now we are hitting on all cylinders. And I'm feeling pretty good. So now here we are. We've gone all this way in this case without much good solid information. Now we have an informant who's telling us about a burglary.
The burglar in question, Mike Edmonds, supposedly has the scoop on Kenda's drive-by shooting, and he's already in custody.
We can flush Mike down a toilet, and the only thing that's going to save him is to tell me what he knows.
You have some information about the homicide. Like, let me explain something to you. Right now, we get enough evidence to give you a hard time for these burglars.
If you tell us what you know, there is at least a chance that some judge might look kindly upon you when it comes time to sentence you.
All right, fine, I'll talk. But I had nothing to do with this. I just overheard my boys talking about it.
He explains that before conducting this burglary, he met up with two friends who helped him in the burglary. They were Matt Gorman and Ronnie Wilcox.
I heard there was a drive-by earlier. That was y'all? Yeah, bro, that was me and Ronnie, son.
According to Mike Edmonds, Matt and Ronnie told him they were in the car with the shooter, a man by the name of Robert Ziegler.
Who was the driver? They said it was some girl named Sue Klein. She's Robert's girlfriend. Robert Ziegler. What's Ziegler's hair look like?
He's got little knots in his head. He ties them with blue rubber bands. Really? So now, our man, who in the past was only known to us by the color of those bands, is Robert Ziegler.
So Robert Ziegler? He's out on parole.
Robert Ziegler is 23 years of age, and he has been arrested 36 times in the last 2 years. 36 times.
He's actually on parole. That's something to our advantage because a person on parole has to make routine contact with their parole officer.
Yes, can I speak to Mr. Anthony, please?
His parole officer, Tony Anthony, considers Robert a major offender and he pays attention to him. So he becomes crucial in finding him for us immediately.
Okay, we'll meet you at 4 p.m. sharp. Thanks. Bye.
I'll get the fugitive apprehension team ready. What's the rendezvous point?
Within hours, Kenda has the CSPD SWAT team assembled just a few blocks from Robert Ziegler's house.
Here's what we're gonna do.
When you're dealing with a potentially armed suspect, you want to arrest him outside. If you try to take him in a house, he knows where his weapons are and you don't.
With the help of Ziegler's parole officer, Tony Anthony, Kenda has devised a plan to lure Ziegler out of his house.
We're going to let Anthony make contact because parole officers make unannounced visits, so he would not be alarmed by the appearance of Mr. Anthony.
Okay, so I knock on the door and tell him I need to talk to him outside?
That's right. As soon as he's outside, we're gonna get the go signal. These guys are gonna grab him.
The last thing I say to everybody, remember, pay attention.
All right, this guy's probably got a gun, so be extra safe.
Do what you know how to do. I don't want to lose anybody to Robert Ziegler.
Okay, Anthony, go ahead and make contact.
I think he's a little shocked we found him as quickly as we did.
Go ahead and take him downtown for an interrogation room.
When Robert is taken down to headquarters, right away he says, I wasn't involved.
I don't know why the hell y'all got me in here. I don't even know what y'all talking about.
That's interesting, Robert. There's a whole lot of other people who know exactly what we're talking about. Like your buddies Matt and Ronnie.
And he just looked at me.
We know that Sue Klein was in the car. She's your girlfriend, right?
Was this your idea? Did she hand you the gun? Because I'm thinking about charging her with murder also.
Didn't say anything for a minute or two.
She was the driver. That's it. I was the shooter.
You go from Mr. X and a complete mystery to this guy you're sitting 3 feet away from and he's telling you he's the guy. It doesn't get any better than that.
I was just trying to scare him.
When you shot directly into the car.
Excuse me? When you scared one of them to death, Robert. That's a big problem.
Now feeling the pressure, Robert Ziegler gives Kenda a full confession, which allows him to piece together the events that led to Van Terry's death.
All right. Stay put.
What happens is, there is this fast food place.
Where'd he go for? What's up?
This car pulls up, and for whatever reason, Robert says something.
Come on. So what's up?
And he gets a reaction, which is why he's doing it. What he doesn't expect is that our man Earl pulls a gun. Now Robert is angry.
I got something for you.
So they go to Ronnie's house. He gets a gun. Then they go out looking.
Find these motherfuckers tonight.
According to Robert's statement, his crew spent the next half hour searching for the white car. Around 11 p.m., they finally spotted it.
Make a left up here. Yeah, turn up here, turn up here. Turn up here. Pull up beside him, babe. Inside.
I don't think he can even see who he's shooting at in that car. He's throwing lead because he's mad.
With the events of the shooting now in focus, Kenda and his men begin rounding up Robert Ziegler's accomplices.
Robert Ziegler pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. was sentenced to 76 years in the penitentiary.
As for Ziegler's accomplices, all were convicted of accessory to murder. Ronnie Wilcox was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Matt Gorman received a 14-year sentence, and Sue Klein received 9 years.
Earl Pickett could have been charged with brandishing a firearm, which is a misdemeanor. We did not do that.
Had people just walked away, none of this would have ever happened.
Young people tend to get themselves in trouble over little or nothing, and it can lead to tragic results. Someone may respond in a way you least expect. It could end your days.
Coming up, a family's nightmare turns into a scene of horror.
This is everyday people and how this level of incredible violence visits upon them. And horrific. It's December the 10th, 1984. It's about 7:30 at night. And I'm leaving late again, as usual. And I just want to make sure everything's where I can find it again in the morning.
You get that autopsy report. Whoa, don't mess things up. Mess things up.
My desk had stuff. I knew where everything was, but it literally was everywhere.
It's Kenda. I will be right there. Bye. I forget the other case. We just got double homicide. Let's go.
Kenda heads over to the Western Meadows Mobile Home Park, a part of town rarely visited by the Major Crimes Unit.
How you doing?
So what do we got? One victim here in the driveway, multiple gunshot wounds, year-old Anthony Carroll, and they pronounced him dead in the hospital.
Anthony Carroll had just moved to Colorado 8 months earlier to be closer to his older brother Melvin.
And the other victim?
There's a young female in the bathtub. She's got multiple wounds in her chest, and they say she's got several in one leg.
How many gunshot wounds did she have?
None. She was stabbed.
Really?
It's very unusual for one perpetrator to use two different weapons.
And who is she?
She's Sherry Bradley. She's also 20 years old. She's the girlfriend of the victim in the driveway.
Sherry had a baby that was 16 months, a little girl, and she had chosen to move in with Anthony several months before.
The relation
two people who have been dating and now both are dead, it almost always is a murder-suicide.
Did Anthony Carroll stab her to death in the bathtub, walk outside and shoot himself?
Now, what about Anthony's injuries?
He had 2 gunshot wounds in his chest, 1 to the head.
Well, that certainly takes away suicide. No one shoots themselves 5 times, particularly twice in the head. Somebody shot him to death, and somebody stabbed Sherry Bradley to death. The question is, who's them?
Any suspects so far?
Yeah, actually.
Excellent.
When the officers started arriving, the initial suspect was out in the front yard area. He was agitated and crying.
He also had high-velocity blood spatter on his shirt, so we just loaded him up and took him downtown.
Good work, JD. Who is he?
Melvin Carroll, he owns the house, and the victim in the driveway, Anthony, is his little brother.
Violence between family members is not rare. You would think it would be. You would think that people are not going to kill the ones they love, but yeah, they will.
About 25% of crimes in this country are committed by family members.
Could Melvin have killed his brother and his brother's girlfriend in a twisted, jealous rage?
Look at this.
There was an extreme amount of blood, and then there was brain matter along with blood where his head had laid.
I noticed that there are small areas of blood coming out of that house. The teardrop shape indicates forward motion, so someone's coming outside and they're bleeding while they're doing it.
It looks like he was shot once inside. Came out here. Headshot and dropped.
So the killer followed.
Appears that way. Let's head inside. What's your stuff?
This is a very well-maintained private home. There's a place for everything and everything in its place. Freshly vacuumed, it is immaculate, which draws your attention to this object laying on the floor in the living room, the blood-covered knife.
Hey, Josh. It's a kitchen knife. Is there anything missing?
Yep. Part of set.
It's a weapon of opportunity. Whoever did this didn't bring a knife with them to do this. They obtained a knife there.
Strange place to put a murder weapon.
You discover two weapons in a crime scene, your first instinct is two different bad guys. Now it makes it doubly difficult to determine who's responsible.
This is a really, really tidy house. That's why the phone in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, does seem a little off.
Let's follow the blood in the back.
There is more blood, smears on the wall, and blood on the carpet, leading back into the master bedroom in this trailer.
Like that?
Somebody kicked in that door.
Think Anthony was in here and Melvin was trying to get at him?
Right now, that'd be my guess.
Yeah, look.
There is a bullet hole in the door frame of this master bedroom, so whoever gets shot in there, which is no doubt Anthony, gets up. Now he is moving all the way through the trailer.
And Melvin finishes off Anthony out front.
Well, somebody does.
Crime scenes tell you what happened. It doesn't tell you who made it happen.
Kenda and Hendricks now have an idea how Anthony was killed, but his girlfriend Cherie's death remains a mystery.
When you inspect this scene, the next obvious thing to do is to look in the bathroom. There's quite a bit of blood, half-inch deep or so in the tub. That blazed back through heart, lungs, all sorts of things that do major bleeding.
Poor Sherry had been stabbed and stabbed and stabbed again.
So she was stabbed, what, 16, 17 times?
Yeah.
I'm a professional. I see human remains. I see evidence of violence. I see it all the time.
See the shower curtains underneath her? And she was standing and the attacker pushed her backwards.
She's not surprised. It's a frontal attack.
Then she was stabbed repeatedly while she was down on her back.
She's taking stabbing injuries to her fingers and her hands to try to stop this person from stabbing her.
Think Brother Melvin might have been in love with Sherry?
That's the kind of love she could have done without.
This is absolutely passionate. Multiple wounds, rage attack, everything about it says personal.
With still so many unanswered questions, Kenda heads outside to speak with potential witnesses.
Down here. This is Victoria Carroll. She's the wife of the guy we took downtown. She says she was inside when everything started. Thank you.
I left and went to the neighbor's house as soon as I heard the screams.
Yes. Victoria, take deep breaths.
Victoria is 25 years of age. She's holding the daughter of Sherry Bradley. She is incredibly traumatized, but I need to know what happened here.
Sorry, I'm going to have to ask you some difficult questions.
Sometimes if you ask somebody an accusatory question, particularly against the loved one of theirs, they'll blurt out what they know. So I said to her,
"You tell me why your husband, Melvin, would kill his own brother and then kill Sherry?"
That's not what happened.
Really? Well, my. So we arrive at this confused, horrific scene of dead people, all involving family members. Melvin is the obvious suspect, who is probably responsible for at least the death of Anthony. Could he also be responsible for Sherry?
You got it all wrong. That was not my husband, Melvin. He didn't kill Sherry Bradley. Anthony did.
Victoria explains that Anthony had a history of emotional problems.
He developed a pretty good drug habit, wound up making a suicide attempt, and at that point, his dad said, hey, do me a favor, you gotta help me straighten him out, he's your brother. And so Melvin said okay, and took this burden on.
Anthony got a job, he got an apartment. His new girlfriend, Sherry, moved in with him. But then over a relatively short period of time, Anthony began to spiral again. Victoria explains that Sherry Bradley has moved in with them, and is staying there because she broke up with Anthony, that they've been having serious problems.
She just wanted to stay for a couple of days before she get on a plane to Illinois. She was supposed to leave tomorrow.
But Victoria tells Kenda that around 6 o'clock last night, Anthony showed up at their door.
Victoria explains that Anthony was not invited over, but he came over.
Man, I don't want any trouble here.
You know what, man, that's why I stay by Sherry to baby.
We knew he shouldn't have been around. But since Sherry and the baby was leaving tomorrow, we decided to let them in.
All right, but keep it cool. I promise.
Anthony comes in. They watch the game for a little while, and everything seems to be fine. Sherry gets up to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden, Anthony gets up, follows her into the bathroom. Victoria looked at that and thought that was odd.
Moments later, Victoria noticed that something else was amiss.
Hey, babe, have you seen the carving knife?
It's in the butcher's block, where it always is.
It most certainly is not.
Thanks, babe. Now, get out of here. Hurry up, hurry.
Melvin just told me to get the baby to the neighbor's house.
Victoria comes across as very believable. She's not trying to protect anybody. She's not trying to minimize anybody's behavior. Every story has a beginning, and violence in that bathroom is what initiates this whole process. And I taken Deputy District Attorney with me to talk to Melvin, because I truly believe Melvin is acting in his own defense for the District Attorney to make the decision to not place Melvin in custody. Melvin is nervous, he is cooperative, he's frightened.
Melvin's the district attorney. He wants to hear your side of the story as well.
Tell us what happened here, and he does.
When I heard Sherry scream, I ran down the hall.
He goes to the bathroom door, and it's locked.
Anthony! Someone else will! Anthony! Killed her, Melvin. I killed her. And now they'll kill you.
Melvin turns and runs to the master bedroom because he has a gun in there he got from his grandfather. An old .32 caliber revolver, but it's loaded. And he keeps it in the bedroom to protect his family.
Open the door, Melvin. I got a gun, Anthony. Open the goddamn door, Melvin. Get away, Anthony. I want to do this, man.
He shoots him in the arm and the upper shoulder, and he knocks him down. He falls from the gunshot wounds.
Damn it, Anthony. I told you don't do this shit, man.
He's trying to call 911. He puts the knife down on the carpet. It's like a scene out of a horror movie. He turns around and looks at him. And his brother says again, I'm going to kill you.
Kill you. Please, Anthony. Don't make me do this.
I'm gonna kill you, Melvin. Please don't make me do this, Anthony.
Don't make me do this.
And I shot him in the head. And he went down. And he stayed down. I went to the house and I called 911.
He still has the gun in his hand, and he doesn't want the police to shoot him. So he sets the gun down.
And then there's that moment where everything must have dawned on him. Just the gravity of the situation. He's got a dead woman in his house. He's got a baby with no mama. He doesn't know where his wife is. He's killed his brother. He's going to have to tell his dad.
Less than a month later, a grand jury finds no basis for criminal charges, confirming Melvin Carroll acted in self-defense.
Anthony had a plan. He didn't come over there and think this up while he was there. Anthony had told friends that he was going to kill his girlfriend and kill himself. We discovered this in the later part of the investigation. My opinion...
The moral of this story is that sometimes there are problems that are just big to be dealt with without some professional help.
Families who have no training in how to deal with someone who's as disturbed as Anthony was are simply not equipped to solve this problem. It's not because they don't want to, it's not because they wouldn't love to, they just don't know how. In the case of Sherry Bradley's family, they lose a daughter and can do nothing about it. The only positive thing that came out of this was that Melvin didn't go to jail, but Melvin still becomes a prisoner of his own mind. causing the death of his own brother by his own hand.